So before I begin my review, I just kind of want to show you guys this quick. Just got this the other day. Thought it was pretty cool. Kind of fits with what I'm talking about today. So Evil Dead Rise was directed by Lee Cronin, and it stars Alyssa Sutherland, Lily Sullivan, and it's about this woman who returns to her sister to visit her and her nieces and nephew, and they live in a high-rise apartment, and then when they find the Necronomicon, they wind up unleashing all these demons that first go inside the mother of the kids, and then eventually chaos and insanity ensues. So Evil Dead Rise was a movie I was kind of looking forward to. Like, I rewatched all the Evil Dead movies to prepare for this, and I reviewed all the Evil Dead movies before this. I do like this franchise as a whole, even if I don't really like Evil Dead 2013 that much, but I do think that this is a really fun, campy, a nice blend of horror and comedy that's done really well. And I kind of look back to these movies and be like, these movies were done pretty cheaply, and it's like, wow, you can do so much with so little, and I just really respect that for these movies. And when Evil Dead Rise came out, I was definitely intrigued after watching that first trailer, where that caught me off guard. It's like, okay, so it's another Evil Dead movie that's coming out, and then it kind of looked like, unlike the 2013 version of Evil Dead, this movie looked like it was going to be like, a little more in line with the other Evil Dead movies in the sense that, like, it's both a horror movie and a comedy, but maybe leaning more towards the horror in that aspect. Looked very creepy, looked very disgusting, and honestly, after watching it, I enjoyed almost all of it. This movie is really good. It's really fun. It's one of the better Evil Dead movies, in my opinion. I like this movie more than Army of Darkness. I don't like it as much as I like Evil Dead 1 or 2, but I still think this movie's a lot of fun. So, what works in this movie? Well, the acting is pretty good for the most part. Lily Sullivan as a sister who's visiting, and Alyssa Sutherland as the sister who lives in the high rise. I do think their interactions are great. I do think the actors do a really good job. When Alyssa Sutherland is Deadite, she's really funny. She's really creepy and really scary. It's like there are times where I was definitely horrified by her, but at the same time I was kind of laughing at her because like she's playing into the goofiness of this franchise. I did really like her performance in this movie. As far as the child actors go, they do a decent job. Morgan Davies, Gabrielle Eccles, and Nell Fisher, they do a decent job as well. Not as good as the two sisters in this movie, but they were decent enough. And I do really like the creative kills and the creative attacks in this movie. There are so many moments where it's like, oh, I did not expect that to happen that way. It's like, that was really creative. That was really fun and definitely over the top, bloody, gory. It was a lot of fun. The atmosphere itself is also really well done. It sets the tone perfectly for the rest of the movie. It just has this eerie vibe throughout the entire movie that is actually really works. And I do really enjoy how this movie is just fun and corny and silly and campy, and it doesn't really like lose the horror of the actual movie. I do think it works overall as both a fun, campy movie as well as a horror movie, which that's how I feel like an Evil Dead movie should be. It should both be fun and scary. And I do like the twist in this movie where it's like, oh, it's about a family now instead of like a bunch of kids going up to a cabin. And I do think that that's an interesting angle to kind of take this whole new movie. And it's like, what would you do in this situation if it was your family instead of like friends you just knew from like, from high school and such? I do think that's very fascinating. And I do like the score of this movie done by Stephen McKeon. It was definitely very, very effective, very scary, very well done. The cinematography by Dan Garbett was very well done as well. You can definitely tell with this movie too that this movie clearly loves the Evil Dead franchise, love what Sam Raimi did with that franchise, and love what Bruce Campbell did with that franchise too. And there are definitely a lot of moments in this movie where it pays homage to the rest of the franchise without like directly copying it. I do think that is also really important with a movie like this. Like, you don't just want to copy the original Evil Dead. You kind of just want to take it in a new direction, but kind of pay homage to it. Like, there are several shots in this movie that are just like a Sam Raimi Evil Dead movie. Like, there's cameras just zooming around and just kind of like when the Deadites is like, okay, this is clearly a Sam Raimi shot. This is something that I feel like Sam Raimi would have done if he directed this movie. And it definitely works as an homage, but more importantly, it works as its own thing. Just happens to be in this franchise. So, was there anything about this movie I didn't care for? Well, admittedly, some of the things in this movie that happened, like, some of the characters in this movie do some dumb things. Now, it's not, like, annoying to the point where it's, like, all the characters do really dumb things, and a bunch of the characters in Evil Dead already do dumb things, like the original Evil Dead or the 2013 Evil Dead, but I kind of let this one go because it was more of a family this time around, whereas, like, if there was an interaction with a family member that was infected and they kind of did something that was pretty stupid, I kind of let that go because, like, maybe they think that there's still that family member inside them, but like maybe it just, I don't know. It was definitely kind of stupid at times, but it's like, okay, maybe it's not as stupid as something done in any of the other Evil Dead movies. Also, I kind of don't like the other demons in this movie. The main demon in the movie is Alyssa Sutherland. I felt like we didn't really get enough time with the rest of the demons. They kind of, some are even blink and you miss them, and it's like, oh, come on. I kind of want to see more of them. And while they looked creepy and they looked really scary and such, I kind of wanted to see more of them, unfortunately. And admittedly, I kind of don't really like the opening scene of the movie, and I don't like the ending of this movie, because I feel like it's just, I don't want to say it's pointless, but it's just not necessary to the main story. It's a really cool sequence at the beginning with when the logo appears at the end of the opening scene. That was really well done and definitely very scary and like very well done. But it just didn't matter to me because it wasn't the main story. But like once we get into the main story and like once we get to the high-rise building, pretty much this movie is a roller coaster. It is so much fun. It is ridiculous. It is over the top. It is scary. It is funny. It's pretty much how an Evil Dead movie should be. Honestly, I've been on such a high from this movie, surprisingly, that I'll give it a pretty high score. I'll give it 3.5 out of 4 stars. See it. So, what's your favorite Evil Dead movie? Comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat. Stay safe.